Chapter 81. 81, The Maestro Visits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Charlton, Serena, the maestro is joining us later, are you two prepared? Felix asked as he saw the two along with their friends come in the class a little early. Yes, sir. Serena responded. She was a little excited to see the maestro's reaction once he hears the song. She just knew that he would love it. Besides, with some honesty, she admits that she also looks forward to getting praised. Although it's just her plagiarizing again, it did feel good to get some recognition. Great. I'm excited to hear the song. You two have been so secretive about it. Anyway, I asked him to come to this room later. Sir Felix, can I stay here to listen? A girl who was there early shyly asked. She only got to hear Serena sing her newly composed song once during the first day. She heard about the wedding from her parents when they visited her. They had endless praise. Ah, Celine, I'm not sure. Why don't you ask Serena? Felix replied. Celine looked at Serena with pleading eyes. She really wanted to listen, and in fact she have long worshipped Serena in her heart. Please, Miss Serena. I can't forget the first time you sang in class. I have long idolized you since then. Serena blushed. Did she just get her first fan? Ah, it's okay. I hope you won't be disappointed. Millie started laughing, proud of her friend. Me too, I'm staying. I haven't heard this new song yet. Charlton had a small smile on his face. He felt proud of his girlfriend. So that's all for the day, goodbye, and see you all next week. Felix said as he dismissed the class. He did not announce that Serena and Charlton were singing as he didn't want a lot of people to be there. The girl earlier was accidental. Also, it won't be fair to Serena, the song was her work. The students started to leave. On their way out, they saw an old man entering the room. He looked a little familiar, but since they all just wanted to go to town and enjoy the weekend, they paid him no heed and left. Geoffrey had to leave early right after they had been dismissed because of some duties he could not escape. He didn't know about Serena and Charlton playing a new piece. He said his goodbyes to his friends first, then at Emily. On his way out, he saw Serena still on her seat. He smiled at her and nodded his head. Before completely leaving the room, he saw the Duke of Legidi by the door and greeted him as courtesy. The Duke was old and was in the neutral faction. So, he did not have a lot of words for him. Emily was about to leave, but being the music aficionado she recognized Maestro Legidi. She saw that Geoffrey greeted him and then left, then he entered the room. Wanting a chance to speak with him, she sat back on her chair as Felix greeted the maestro. Maestro, so glad you can make it. Felix began as he moved to assist the maestro. He was dressed simply and did not bring his servants with him so that he would not garner too much attention. I'm very much looking forward to your students' creation. The maestro said in response as he placed his hand on Felix's shoulder. Why is Emily not leaving yet? Giselle whispered to Serena. Serena shook her head. Except for the 7 of them and the Celine, no one knew that she and Charlton will be singing a new song. Felix found it strange that Emily was not leaving. He wanted to ask her to leave, but won't that be rude? It was already beyond class hours and this room was not his. Serena, Charlton, please come over and greet the maestro. Felix called. Serena and Charlton walked to the front as they greeted the maestro. Noel Darren, we meet again. I have been looking forward to this day since the wedding. I hope you don't mind me being here now. The maestro began. We hope not to disappoint, maestro. Also, if it's all right, our friends are here to listen too. Serena said. No problem, I don't own the song, you do. It is your prerogative if you want others to listen. The maestro laughingly said as he patted her shoulder. Then he looked around. You mentioned a Leonard last time. Is he here? Yes, my brother is here, would you like to meet him? That would be lovely. Serena turned to face Leonard to beckon him over. Seeing that, Leonard approached. Maestro, this is my brother, Lord Leonard Alphonse Maxwell, the heir of our ducal house. Brother, this is Duke von Legidi. Leonard felt a little embarrassed. He is the brother and can introduce himself. Nonetheless, he made a courtesy bow to the Duke. It's a pleasure to meet you, Your Grace. The maestro laughed as he patted his shoulder. No need to greet me with such courtesy, just call me maestro. The first time I heard your sister's music, I was overcome with admiration. I was told that you played a big role in creating that. Were you also involved in creating the song they will be playing today? No, maestro, this new song was all them. Also, I did not really play a big role then. I just helped a little. He said, blushing. He did not want to take credit on a work not really of his own. You're a fine young man, be good to your sister and watch over her. Now let me find a seat, my old bones are killing me. He said, as he gestured Felix to help him. Emily felt out of place. She wanted to leave, but felt that it would be rude to just do so suddenly. Besides, she was also curious on what was happening. So, she remained rooted on her seat. Anyway, she was not the only student still in the room. Serena decided not to mind Emily. She didn't know her purpose for staying, but it's not like the girl would cause her any harm by just watching and listening. Okay, Serena and Charlton, whenever you're ready. Felix said. Charlton looked at Serena. Let's go, he asked. Serena nodded and smiled at him in response. Then they walked to the stage. Charlton sat in front of the piano. Serena told him that he was better than her with that, so he should be the one playing. Serena on her part honestly thought so. Besides, she rather liked looking at him playing. He looked so hot and sexy. The inner fangirl in her wanted to scream his name out loud, shouting to the world that her Charlton is the best, and he was completely hers. Anyway, she chose to stand beside the piano's front. Then Charlton played the first note. Serena, like the first time she sang in the bath, sang the first stanza and chorus. I can't remember when you weren't there, when I didn't care for anyone but you. Through the years. Then, Charlton sang the second stanza and chorus. I can't remember what I used to do, who I trusted, whom I listened to before. Through the years, through all the good and bad. Then they sang in duet for the next two chorus paragraphs. Through the years, when everything went wrong, together we were strong until the song ended. Then there was silence and only a sniffing sound was heard. The first to clap was Celine at the back. She didn't notice the atmosphere below. At the first row, Felix sat beside Maestro Legidi. From the first stanza the Serena sang, he noticed the maestro's eyes have already watered. He understood why, because he too felt so sentimental about the song. The lyrics were so beautiful that he was sure that each word have gone straight to the maestro's heart. However, he was also afraid that the maestro would just have a heart attack then and there. Leonard, Kylo, and Emily in front also noticed. Thus, they were just being silent. Emily thought that Serena was indeed very good. She could not imagine writing a song like that herself. However, she noticed the way Serena and Charlton had been looking at each other. Could there be something between them? She wondered. Giselle, Millie, and Via, at the back also felt very emotional with the song, but not wanting to be defeated by Celine, they too started cheering by clapping their hands loudly. Then, the maestro stood up from his seat and approached Serena. Serena, noticing, smiled at the maestro. She could understand the way he must be feeling now. He held both her hands with his as he thanked her profusely. Thank you both, the song spoke of everything I would have wanted to tell my wife. You just told the wonderful story of our lives, of all the lives of people like me, he said, tears leaking from his eyes. Thank you. Serena, seeing the maestro in tears, felt too sentimental as she can relate to him. She too suddenly felt her chest being stuffy and tears threatened to fall from the corner of her eyes. How about you sing it during your golden anniversary? I can send the sheet music and the lyrics if you want to. Serena said as she removed her hands from his hold to dab the corner of her eyes. No, please you two sing it, I don't think I can. I might just start crying in the middle and make all the guests laugh at me. Please, I insist. Charlton stood up from the piano and approached them. He saw Serena in tears and wanted to hug her, though he knew that she was just being empathetic. Anyway, everyone was staring so he could only pat her on the shoulder. TBC. Chapter 82. 82, Details for the Ball. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mary and Gina, how's the progress with the invites and the decor? It's already the 2nd of December, we only have 20 days left. We need to send the invites by next week to give enough time for everyone to prepare. Joan asked. They need to discuss minute details about the ball as it is quickly approaching. We're already done with the invites. Now regarding the decor, we decided to go with the midnight blue theme this year. The reason is that it will provide better contrast with the dresses, which usually consists of red, white, and green. Gina reported, then Mary enthusiastically interjected. We already purchased the materials to be used for decoration. On the day of the ball, the venue, which will be at the Assembly Hall, will feature jewel-toned pieces with a focus on sparkly golds and deep royal blues. We will dim the lights and turn on the blue and white Christmas lights once the first dance begins. Well, I can already imagine how beautiful it would be. The boys winced with Mary's excited loud voice. Thank you for that. Leonard and Serena, how's the program? Joan continued. We already assigned people for the receiving area and already hired the master of ceremonies for the requisite announcements. By 8 in the evening, we expect that everyone would be inside. The school dignitaries will give some messages as it is also our school's founding anniversary. After that, we can proceed with the first dance. Leonard reported. How about the dance card for the ladies? Joan asked. We left that with Diether and Douglas as they were the ones to hire the band. Leonard said. Honestly, he hated balls. Thankfully, his sister did not ask him a lot and let him work on his own. She wanted to take lead on arranging the dances, but he dissuaded her by saying that responsibility falls on Diether and Douglas. Serena looked at Leonard with furrowed brows. As she thought, he tricked her. Anyway, she did not really have a lot of time to arrange for a band, for she was busy practicing with Charlton. The Maestro's event is only 2 weeks away. On the other hand, the other girls looked the Diether. If he messes that up, they will grill him. So. How is it now? How many songs are they playing? Ugh, just tell us the song arrangement and we will prepare the dance card. Gina, who can't stop herself, said. Yes, we will prepare the dance card. I would hate it if it were not to match with the theme of the ball. Mary added. Diether, afraid of the girls, nodded his head in agreement. All right, you guys prepare it. Ugh. Then he glared at Leonard, who tricked him by passing the hot potato towards him. Leonard pretended not to see by arranging the papers in front of him. I'll also introduce you to the band, so you guys talk to them instead. Diether added for good measure. Might as well pass the responsibility to them. Anyway, how about the tables, chairs and other necessary items? Joan asked. Everything has been arranged for. Douglas this time said. All right. Now, how about the food? Artemis, we already have arrangements for the separate refreshment room. We have hired La Dourie to be our caterer. They will make available tea and coffee, biscuits, cakes, sandwiches, macaroons, and the likes. Only by midnight will champagne and wine be added, that is to ensure that no one would be drunk before then. Artemis stated. All right. Seems like everything is good. Joan said as she nodded for Jeffrey to take over. Now we're done with details about the ball, let's talk about how everyone is doing at the orphanage. It has come to my attention that the children are quite diverse. Can everyone share their experience with the ones they're handling? I also wish to ask the seniors to tell us about their plans for the older children. From our end, the older children seem to be interested in learning practical skills like blacksmithing, tailoring, cooking and the likes. Thus, we decided to focus on that. Tomorrow, we will be bringing with us a seamstress, a baker, and a blacksmith. They will be there to talk about their occupation and how the children may follow their footstep in the future. As of now, that's the plan. Artemis explained. That sounds good. Jeffrey said. On my end, the children seem to be interested in learning. They are a curious bunch. Leonard reported. We are handling children from ages 4.7, so they're just rowdy. We only play games when we're there. Mary said. Jeffrey nodded his head. Anyway, the younger children will be easier to handle in the future, their focus were on the older ones. I think that the step taken by the seniors is good. So, I have nothing to say nor add. Regarding the fundraising, we can move that after the ball as our hands are quite full. Everyone nodded their head in agreement. Now, we're through with our agenda for today. Are there any other concern? Serena raised her hand. Jeffrey looked at her in askance. It's nothing much, but I beg to be excused for our next visit on the 17th. I have a very important event to attend to the night before. Serena explained, she had no plans to return the day after. She wanted to stay with Charlton the whole night and well, the day after. It's not every day that they get to spend the night together. Jeffrey, who was curious about which event she will be attending, could only wait for the meeting to end to ask her. Meantime, as he can do nothing about it, he only nodded his head in approval. Thank you. Jeffrey asked one more time if they still have any other concern. There being none, he adjourned the meeting. Serena, Jeffrey called. Yes. Serena replied as she looked at Jeffrey. She was about to leave the room along with Leonard when she heard him call her name. Leonard on the other hand was surprised. Since when did Jeffrey and Serena been on a first-name basis? What event are you attending on the 16th? He asked. The golden anniversary of Maestro Legidi. I will be performing a song then. She explained. Ah. He replied, he was not invited on that event. He wondered if he should procure himself an invite. Serena, seeing his expression, added for good measure, Sir Felix will be accompanying me and Lord Daniel. It's an intimate event for the couple, so. Jeffrey understood what she meant to say. He should respect the wishes of the old couple. I see. Is that all? Serena, seeing that he understood, asked. Do you have an escort for the ball on the 22nd already? Jeffrey asked with some embarrassment. Serena thought that he was asking her just because of propriety. Everyone will be talking if Jeffrey were to escort another girl aside from her. She recalled that in the novel, Jeffrey escorted Serena despite their relationship. However, she had no plans to follow the same step. So, she nodded her head. Yes, I'm going with Brother Leonard. We talked about it while we were arranging the program. She replied. Fine, they didn't talk about that and her plans of attending with Charlton was ruined. But that excuse should work. Leonard at the sideline was surprised. They didn't have that talk. But the most curious thing was Jeffrey asking to escort Serena. Did he just realize how wonderful his sister was? But wasn't his sister seeing Charlton? Just as he thought. What a mess. Jeffrey looked at Leonard, as if to tell him to change that plan. Leonard took 3 seconds to think it over. In the end, his brotherly instinct won. Plus, Jeffrey hadn't treated Serena that well in the beginning. So, he only shook his head at Jeffrey. Jeffrey, seeing Leonard's expression, sighed. He knew he already lost the battle for this round. All right. Then, please save a dance for me at the ball. Serena thought that Jeffrey was only asking because people might start talking if he were to escort Emily and not even dance with his intended. Besides, what else could she do? She could only agree and say, of course. I didn't know that you're on friendly terms with Jeffrey. Leonard commented, obviously wanting his sister to explain. Although he never talked to her about her relationship with Charlton, she knew that he knew. Well, we're friends now. He did apologize for his earlier rudeness. So, what do you plan on doing now? Serena knew what he was pertaining to. Just wanting to straighten things out, she looked at him as she stopped walking. I will be honest with you, brother Leonard. Please don't blame me for this, but, from the beginning, my heart has been set on Charlton. Although Leonard usually goes along with what Serena wants, this time he had to give her a sound advice. Serena, you're engaged to Jeffrey. I know that he has not been nice to you at the beginning, but if you try to spend more time with him and to get to know him better, perhaps you will develop stronger feelings for him. I know I said that I'm keeping my arms crossed, but that was before Jeffrey began showing his interest. You know that our parents and I will always be behind you even when the crime becomes a lèse-majesté. But before you dive into anything, please show me that at the very least, you've tried. So won't you give Jeffrey and yourself a chance? TBC. Chapter 83. 83, Details for the Ball 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Leonard walked Serena back to her dormitory, she got changed for her excursion with her friends. Currently, they were at Marquesa, looking through some ready-made gowns for the ball. Rather than wearing what they already prepared beforehand, the girls decided to look around and see if there would be something that suits them better. Then Serena will design the alterations to be made. Serena sighed. Earlier, she wanted to tell Leonard that he has nothing to worry about because Jeffrey has his heart set on Emily. However, she does not have any substantial proof. Aside from that, she doesn't know what Leonard might do. He just might confront Jeffrey and cause a scandal. Thus, she kept that knowledge to herself. Not wanting him to think that his advice went to deaf ears, she nodded her head and said, I'll think about it. Earth to Serena. Millie said, looking at her friend that looked like her mind was floating. Yes, she replied. Do you think this pink one would suit me better than the yellow one? Giselle asked. Serena shook her head then pointed at the dress hanging behind Giselle. I think the coral dress will do. Try that one on. Giselle grinned as she picked the dress. Indeed, the color looked like it will be more flattering on her tan. Serena, why don't you try this one on? I think this will suit you beautifully. Via suggested. Although she was not buying, she quite enjoyed looking at the dresses. She decided to wear what her parents prepared for her to the ball. Serena looked at the dress. It was a short-sleeved ombre tulle dress with 3D floral embellishments. Liking the color and the embellishments on the dress, she decided to buy it immediately. Aren't you going to try it on first? Via asked surprised. No need, I will alter it later. After paying for their purchase, they strolled and shopped for more items in town. When it was past dinner, the girls went back to their dormitory. Alone in her room, Serena could not sleep. She thought about what Leonard said over and over. Not that she was interested in Jeffrey that way, but she felt like she has been doused with a bucket full of ice-cold water. When she started her relationship with Charlton, it was with the thought that she could leave him anytime. She never placed herself falling in love with him in the equation. However, with the way things were now, she has no plans of giving him up just like that. However, if she were to assume that Leonard was right and Jeffrey did like her, then what will happen next? How could their engagement get broken? If she were just to think of herself, well sure. No problem. She can just break her engagement with Jeffrey with no strings attached. However, Leonard's words made her feel so selfish. Inevitably, if she were to do that, her family would bear the repercussions, and although they were not her real family, she would never want that for them. Her engagement was a royal decree. Also, it was her father who proposed the engagement, and her being the one to break it would suggest that they were playing the monarchs as fools. Thus, the question would boil down to whether she is willing to sacrifice the honor of her family for Charlton. She understood why Leonard said those words to her. If she were in his shoes, she would also say the same thing. The question and the guilt cause her a headache. Not wanting to lose sleep about it anymore, she decided to not dwell on that matter. Besides, maybe it was all in Leonard's mind. At the orphanage, Serena tried to notice any strange behavior from Jeffrey. Was he really interested in her? She wondered. However, she did not notice anything strange. He was being a little friendly, but nothing to indicate that he likes her that way. Serena sighed in relief. The days passed quickly and soon it was the 16th of December. As the event will be held in the evening, Serena attended the student council meeting fist. Everyone was also busy discussing the final details and any minute additions for the ball as it will be held next week already. After sending out the invites last week and receiving all the confirmation earlier this Monday, we were able to finalize the registration accordingly. Since there are more male than female in school, not all male has secured a muse. However, all the female students have escorts. Mary reported as she passed the prepared registration to Joan. Good. Leonard, please prepare another copy of this registration for the Master of Ceremonies. Joan instructed as she continued to ask, how about the dance card and the order of dances? Gina grinned and passed around some expensive-looking booklets. Serena received a piece and looked it over. Unlike the dance card she was more familiar with, which were usually only a piece of cardboard paper folded in two, the one in her hand was very elaborate. The cover was made of leather and silk dyed in midnight blue incorporated with silver and a sapphire at the middle. The cord that should be attached to the lady's wrist or ball gown was also decorative and in the color of silver. It was held closed by a pencil placed through the silk loops. Please remove the pencil to open the dance card. Gina said, pride evident in her voice. Serena saw that inside, attached on each side was an ivory sheet. At the heading were the words Programme du Bal, Windsor School for Nobles, 150th Founding Anniversary Ball, while below, divided into two columns were the order of the dances. On the left was the dance and title of the song, while on the right was a blank space where the name of the dancing partner can be written. As you can see, there are 21 songs listed and the corresponding dances. The first would be the Grand March, followed by the quadrille. Then it's all random. We have 3 sets each for quadrille, lancers, polka, gallop, schottische, and 2-step. Then only 2 for waltz. Hee, wouldn't it be romantic to only have 2 dances for waltz? Mary said dreamily as Gina nodded at the side. The two were very happy with their work. Joan along with all the girls nodded in satisfaction while some of the boys sighed in relief. At least with the number of songs, they won't have any problem with getting a dance partner. Events like these were truly a fish bone in their throat. Fantastic. Are all the dance cards now available? Joan asked. Yes, we have all the copies here. Gina replied. All right, Leonard, you better ensure that the cards are safe. Tell the people assigned at the registration to handle it with utmost care. Leonard nodded his head while Gina and Mary stared at him slit-eyed. Moving on, how about the arrangement for the food? Artemis coughed. Due to popular demand, alcoholic beverages will be served throughout the event. Joan furrowed her brows while she looked at Diana. You let that happen. Diana shook her hands. I tried my best, but there were just too many boys than girls in school. We were outvoted. Joan looked at Jeffrey, as if asking him to intervene. Jeffrey sighed. How about this? Alcohol can only be served at the last song before the intermission. Artemis quickly jumped on that boat. Good idea, Mr. President. I agree. With heavy breath, Joan accepted the suggestion. Fine. Anyway, that is the last of it. So, I guess we're all ready for next week. Everyone nodded. L.C. Alright. Now let's move on to our next agenda. With regards to the orphanage, as tomorrow will be our last visit for this year, I have been informed by the facilitators that they will be holding a small Christmas party for us so that we and the children will be able to celebrate it together. The event will start after lunch, so we will leave here by noon. By the way, I know I do not have to say this, but might as well. Although not required, it would be nice for everyone to bring gifts to the children they are handling. Anyway, we still have the rest of the day and tomorrow morning to shop. Jeffrey informed. Everyone nodded in agreement. After, since there were no more matters to discuss, the meeting was adjourned. Serena was about to leave with Leonard when Jeffrey called her attention. Leonard, wanting to give the two some privacy, left, using the registration and dance cards as his excuse. Yes? Serena asked. I wish to ask, what time do you have to leave later? The event will begin at 6, so I guess we should be leaving before 4. Why? I was wondering if you have enough time to join me in town to shop gifts for the children. I can hand them your gifts tomorrow. Also, if it is not troublesome, I can send you to the Duke's palace after. Serena paled, feeling as if her heart stopped. Is he really interested in me? She pondered. TBC. Chapter 84. 84, Golden Wedding Anniversary. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jeffrey, noticing Serena's pale complexion, felt that he was being too forward, so he quickly added, Emily is also coming along. She also wishes to buy gifts for the children. Serena breathed in relief. I would love to. However, I still have to prepare for the event. Although I have some time in my hand, it would be a little tiring because I don't know how long the party will last. Please send my regards to the children and that I will be sending my gifts to them on another day. Alright. Then, how about my offer to send you to the venue? That too would be lovely, but I'm not sure about the schedule and I don't wish to impede too much of your time. Buying gifts for the 20 children we're handling should take quite a while. Also, the carriage to send me will also be the one I will be using to get back tomorrow. The maestro asked us to stay the night, and it would be too troublesome if I were to ask Lord Daniel if I can hitch a ride. Serena explained. Jeffrey felt like she did have a point, so he can only reluctantly agree. Serena felt confused. Does Jeffrey like her? Or does he not? Should she reject him? But he hasn't confessed anything. Besides, he still mentioned Emily earlier. Would he be shopping with Emily alone if she's not his girlfriend? Unless he's into polygamy like many men in history, which she doubts. Anyway, like last time, she put her thoughts about that matter at the back of her mind. Besides, there's no use thinking of something that may only be existing in her imagination. At 3 in the afternoon, Beatrice informed Serena that Felix and Charlton sent a message to inform her that they were already waiting at the lobby. Since she was ready, she asked Beatrice to bring her bag to the carriage. Milady, should I not accompany you to the event? No need, I'm just a guest and it would be improper if I were to bring you along. Serena replied. Beatrice nodded and carried her bag. Serena was dressed simply. She will get changed in the Duke's palace later, as to not ruin it during the ride. When Serena reached the lobby, she noticed that Charlton had the same mind as her. Good afternoon, Sir Felix. Charlton, I hope I did not keep the two of you waiting for too long. Not at all. Anyway, the journey will be about an hour and a half, so we must go. Felix said. Serena nodded in response. Felix walked in front while Serena and Charlton walked together. When Felix entered the first carriage, Charlton helped Serena to her own. You all right? Charlton asked. Yes. Why? You look a little pale. Serena shook her head. I'm fine, I'll try to get some sleep in the carriage. Should I ride with you? Although I'm hard as rock, I can still make for a good pillow. He joked. Serena laughed, people might see. Charlton looked left and right. Seeing that Felix's carriage was ahead, and no one was looking at them, he winked at his coachman, Jack, and quickly joined Serena inside. How about my coachman? He doesn't know. I'll think about that later. For now, just sleep. Charlton said as he closed the curtains and wrapped his arm around Serena, making her snuggle to his chest. Oh.org, don't you think that your cousin and your fiancé are awfully close? Emily bluntly asked as she and Geoffrey were selecting gifts for the children. What are you talking about? Geoffrey questioned in return, his brows furrowed. Aren't they spending too much time together? Please never spout such nonsense again. I didn't know any better, I would think that you're trying to sow discord amongst us. Emily felt her face flush. Honestly speaking, that was her purpose, however, it was not like what she said had no basis. Not wanting to offend Geoffrey, she decided to change the topic. Do you have a partner to the ball next week? At first, Geoffrey planned to ask her after Serena rejected him. However, he thought about how it would look if he did. He was not deaf not to hear about the gossip circulating in school. Yes, as the company head of the organizing committee, I'm attending with Joan. Oh, I see. Emily answered, then turned around pretending to look at something interesting at the corner of the shop. She felt tears starting to prickle her eyes, but she knew she had no right. Geoffrey understood Emily's purpose for asking him, and he also saw her glazed eyes. However, he decided not to point it out nor discuss anything further so as not to give her any false hope and expectation. After about an hour in the carriage, Charlton estimated that they were nearing the Duke's palace. Serena felt Charlton moving and saw him looking at his watch. Are we near? She said, a little groggy. I'm not sure, but it's been more than an hour, so I estimate that we are. How are you going down? Ask your coachman to make a stop first. Serena nodded, then knocked on the wood in front of her and opened the small window slightly. Bernard, please stop the carriage. Bernard, hearing his mistress' request, slowly pulled the horses to a halt. Before the carriage could stop completely, Charlton held Serena's cheeks, kissed her, opened the door, then jumped. Serena almost screamed out of shock. Charlton managed to steady himself, his legs bent but managing to keep his knees from touching the ground. Milady, what happened? Bernard asked after the carriage was in full stop. Serena looked outside and saw Charlton walking to his carriage looking like he was completely fine. He even turned to her, and mock saluted. Nothing. Let's continue the journey, I changed my mind. She instructed. When the carriage stopped for the second time, it was about 4:30 p.m. and they have arrived at Maestro Legitti's ducal palace. Serena pushed the curtain and saw through her window the sprawling manicured lawn. Then her door was opened, and a footman helped her alight her carriage. Welcome to my humble abode. Maestro Legitti greeted her, and beside him were Felix and an old woman, who she assumed must be his wife, Duchess Legitti. Serena smiled and curtsied to the couple, Your Grace. Then she felt Charlton, who just walked over after alighting his carriage, stand beside her. From the corner of her eyes, she saw him giving a slight bow. No need to be so formal. I wish to thank the both of you for coming here earlier. By the way, may I introduce you both to my lovely wife, Duchess Lolita Legitti. My suite, as I told you about, these are Serena Maxwell and Charlton Daniel. The Duchess smiled at the two. I thank the two of you in advance. My husband has told me much about you. I would love to spend more time getting to know the both of you, but the time is not early anymore. Perhaps we can do that tomorrow. So come, let us guide you to your respective rooms so that you can rest a little before the event. Serena and Charlton smiled and nodded at the Duchess in understanding as they walked through the palace. At the ground floor, while passing the main lobby to climb the stairs, the Duke pointed that the grand ballroom where the event will be held was straight ahead. Ah, just a heads up, our golden anniversary celebrations guest list became longer than expected. Initially we planned to invite just our relatives, but news leaked out and some of our close friends heard about you two coming over. As not to make them feel bad, we decided to extend our invites to them too. Although the number is not large, the increase is still significant than the initial 120. Our grand ballroom will host about 200 guests. The maestro shared as he laughed. It's all right, maestro, this is your event. So please don't think of us too much. Serena said. Hearing her words, the maestro smiled at her gratefully. Serena, Charlton, and Felix were escorted by the ducal couple and their butler to their respective rooms. Serena's room was situated at the far right, while Felix and Charlton's room were at the far left, just parallel to each other. The event will begin at 6 in the evening. We'll see you all then. The maestro said as they said their goodbyes. Serena went back to her room, and after a while, she heard a knock. When she opened the door, she was greeted by Charlton smiling down at her. Aren't you going to get changed? What are you doing here? Serena said as she pulled Charlton in. I just wanted to see you and our room for the night first. He said jokingly as he hugged her and kissed her hair. Serena hugged him back. Then they started looking around the room. The room was well appointed. It had a balcony overlooking the lawn and, more importantly, the warm natural light of the golden hour filtering through the window of the comfort room made the circular bathtub dazzle under its spotlight. Charlton and Serena looked at each other and grinned. TBC. Chapter 85. 85, Golden Wedding Anniversary 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although the two of them wanted to do something spectacular, they must note the time. They still had to freshen up and Serena was feeling tired. Rest a little first, I will wake you up after 30 minutes. Charlton said as he lied next to her. Serena snuggled to his chest, humming her agreement as she closed her eyes. Charlton saw the fatigue in Serena's eyes. He took it as her being tired with all the responsibility she's been under. Unlike him, she was part of the student council, attending meetings, heading the program committee for the ball next week along with Leonard, composing music, and even studying for her subjects to maintain her grades all at the same time. A guilty part of him just wanted to keep her all to himself. However, even when he couldn't fly alongside her, he should not try and clip her wings. Thus, all he can do was continue to support her. When Charlton left the room after waking Serena up, it was already 5:15. Thankfully, everyone was busy and the corridor was empty. He went back to his room, took a shower, moving quickly as not to be late. On the other hand, Serena did the same. At 5:45, Felix knocked on Charlton's door. Charlton, are you ready? Charlton looked at himself at the mirror one more time before moving and opening the door. Yes, why? I want to go ahead and see if my friends have arrived. Please inform Serena and escort her later. All right. Okay. He nodded. Charlton smiled. It was his first time seeing Serena prepare herself for a ball. She was wearing a sleeveless asymmetric gown made of silk and chiffon with floral prints. Her hair was in a braided updo with loose curls framing her face. He wondered how she fixed her hair. Will you help me put this on? She said as she opened the velvet box containing the necklace he gave her. With pleasure. He replied. He kissed at back of her neck after locking the clasp. When she turned to face him, he smiled at her and said, You look beautiful. Serena smiled back, You look quite dashing yourself. Offering her his arm, they walked together to join the celebration. The ballroom was expansive and well appointed. The French doors that lined the far side of the room was wide open, affording the cool breeze to circulate in the area. Large, gold-gilded mirrors reflected the scene of colorful gowns and twinkling jewels interspersed with men in full evening dress suit. The walls had been draped in a gauzy fabric in antique gold. With the chandeliers projected yellow lights. Footmen in full livery circulated with trays of champagne and lemonade while a full orchestra was playing music at the background. There was no requisite announcement as the people invited to the gathering were mostly relatives and close friends. At one side of the ballroom were large round tables where the guests will be seated once dinner commences. From afar, Felix saw Charlton and Serena and they waved them over. Serena, Charlton, I want the two of you to meet Mr. Edward Easton. Serena, last time if you recall, I told you about the man who wants to strike a recording deal with you. This is he. Serena looked at the man with wide eyes. Is this real? She's meeting the founder of Columbia Records. So, she gave him a curtsy and greeted, Good evening Mr. Easton, it is a great honor to meet you. Charlton seeing Serena do so followed with a bow. Ah, Lady Maxwell, please don't make a curtsy, also Lord Daniel, no need to bow. I'm no nobility, just a simple man who's trying to make a venture. Edward said, not really knowing protocol, but he knew that the two were children of esteemed dukes. Please don't say that Mr. Easton, I was very much enthralled with the recoding deal you told Sir Felix about. I am interested in joining you on said venture. If you don't mind, would you please explain how you plan to go with the recording deal? Seeing that Serena was interested, Edward explained about the specifics. It was very straightforward, they will ask Serena to go to their recording company, then they will record her song in a disc which will be up for sale. Afterwards, they will split the profit after all the costs have been deducted. Serena liked how it sounded but thinking that her voice was not up to par, she suggested that they hire other singers. I like what you're proposing, however, I don't think that my voice is that beautiful. Aside from that, the schedule might be quite tight. How about I send you the sheet music for the song and the lyrics then you hire another singer? I think that you and Lord Daniel, singing, will have a greater impact. Also, I heard your voice last time, I think it sounded beautiful. Serena blushed, well if that's the case, then how about this, I have more songs I would wish to have on record, but I don't want me and Charlton singing all the time. So, some songs I can sing on my own, but some we can hire a singer. If it is alright, I can also recommend some of my friends. Edward, ever the businessman, thought it through. What Serena was suggesting was instant publicity. The market that he's targeting in the meantime were the nobility. The masses can't afford the discs yet. That would be fine too. In the meantime, I have been informed that you have 2 songs ready. Let's try that first because I don't know how the market will respond and move. I don't want you to be disappointed if ever things doesn't work out for the best. Serena thought that it will work. However, she understood what he meant. They can't produce everything all the once. In its initial phase, a disc only contains 1 song, and the 2 songs that they will record was already a huge investment. Alright. Is your recording company far? Actually, it's just about an hour drive from here. If you two have time, I can draft the contract tomorrow morning for you to sign. What do you think? Serena thinking that things would be better if they record it tomorrow. Actually, I was thinking, if we can sign it tomorrow, we can also record the songs right after. That is, if your recording company is equipped for it. We're very much ready with the sheet music and by now, we've already mastered singing the songs. I think that releasing your product a week before Christmas would be a great marketing strategy. People at this time are more willing to spend. Edward thought that her suggestion was a great idea. Not wanting her to change her mind, they quickly shook their hands on it. Although he hasn't heard the second song yet, he was sure that just the first one will already garner them enough income. Then, I will see you both tomorrow after lunch. Serena smiled back, a businessman is a businessman. He was very decisive and knew that he will not be entering a losing deal. Charlton and Felix stood at the sidelines like gawking fishes. The first recording deal for a song in their empire happened just like that. After a while, the master of ceremonies announced the ducal couple entering the hall. Everyone gave them a round of applause. Then he handed the mic to the Duke. Good evening everyone, it is with great appreciation that I thank all of you for attending tonight's occasion. As you all know, my sweet and I. Everyone whistled and cheered at the pet name. Ehem, my darling wife, Duchess Lolita and I, are celebrating our golden anniversary. Now I know that some of you have come from far places and are those stomachs rumbling I am hearing?" He paused, and everyone laughed, hungry already. "So, before we proceed with the program and the dancing, I want to treat all of you to a sumptuous dinner. Again, thank you very much." Then he handed the mic back to the master of ceremonies. The guests were guided to the tables, and then the feast began. While everyone was eating, Serena noticed the servants bringing in a grand piano at the other end of the ballroom. Were they playing there? She smiled at the maestro's antics. After dinner, the master of ceremonies approached Felix to ask if Serena and Charlton were ready. After getting their confirmation, he went back to the platform. "Just before we start the dancing, I would like everyone to welcome two special guests for the evening who will be gifting our main stars for the night a song. I know that everyone have been waiting for this moment. So please let us welcome Lord Charlton Daniel and Lady Serena Maxwell." Everyone who attended was truly looking forward to their performance. The maestro even boasted that the first song was especially composed as a gift to him and his wife, while the second, which was played at the wedding last time, was for their opening dance. TBC. Chapter 86. 86, Golden Wedding Anniversary 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Everyone in the ballroom was brimming in anticipation as Serena and Charlton walked to the grand piano. It was very silent that everyone can hear Serena's heels clicking. The master of ceremonies handed Charlton the mic first to ask him to give a message. "Good evening, thank you for having us here tonight. Maestro Legidi and Duchess Lolita, congratulations on your 50th golden years of union. May God shower his love and blessings on you for many years to come," Charlton said and gave a bow. Then he passed the mic to Serena. "Good evening everyone. It is with great honor that I have been invited to this momentous occasion. I wish to thank Maestro Legidi and his lovely wife, Duchess Lolita, for the trust and opportunity given to us to perform tonight. Maestro, today is a time to reminisce. Looking back with happiness and pride upon the 50 cherished years that you've spent side by side. Remembering the firsts of all you've shared together, the places you've been, the things you have done. Based on what I saw today, I can say that you have spent a glorious half a century together. Looking at you both inspires not only me, but I believe everyone here that true love does exist. Your love for each other is an inspiration and a great example of commitment for everyone around you. Congratulations to you both. Many good wishes to celebrate this day, and I pray that you two will have another 50 years come your way," Serena said emotionally. She dabbed her eyes a little, along with the other guests. The Duke and the Duchess were also very touched with her message. They too got a little emotional, so they dabbed their eyes too before clapping. Charlton looked at Serena. He didn't know that she would deliver such a moving message to the couple even though they only met the maestro 3 times. He didn't know if he should move to comfort her as everyone was staring at them. Serena saw him looking at her with eyes filled with worry, so she shook her head and gave him a little smile. Then she handed the mic back to the host. "All right. So, without further ado, let us give another round of applause to the two." Charlton sat in front of the piano and Serena stood at the side. They looked at each other, then Charlton started playing the first note. Serena looked at the audience as she started singing the first stanza. "I can't remember when you weren't there when I didn't care for anyone but you bl.net. I swear we've been through everything there is, can't imagine anything we've missed, can't imagine anything the two of us can't do through the years. You've never let me down, you turned my life around, the sweetest days I've found with you through the years. I've never been afraid, I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I've stayed right here with you through the years." By this time, a lot of people already had tears in their eyes. Then Charlton sang the second stanza in chorus. "I can't remember what I used to do, who I trusted, whom I listened to before. I swear you've taught me everything I know. Can't imagine needing someone so, but through the years it seems to me I need you more and more through the years. Through all the good and bad I know how much we had. I've always been so glad to be with you through the years. It's better every day. You've kissed my tears away. As long as it's okay I'll stay with you through the years." While Charlton was singing, Serena looked at the ducal couple. She saw that the Duchess was facing the maestro, in tears but with a smile. The maestro was wiping her tears with his thumb, while he himself also had his eyes glazed. She can clearly see that the two must be reminiscing all the things they have went through together. Their children and grandchildren was looking at the couple, with tears and smile. The guests were also looking at them instead of her and Charlton. Then, Serena and Charlton sang the ending chorus. Through the years when everything went wrong together we were strong. I know that I belonged right here with you. Through the years I've never had a doubt we'd always work things out. I've learned what life's about by loving you. Through the years you've never let me down. You turned my life around. The sweetest days I've found with you. Through the years it's better every day. You've kissed my tears away. As long as it's okay I'll stay with you through the years. After the song ended, Serena and Charlton made a pause as everyone in the hall gave a moment of silence. The Duke, the Duchess and all their family members looked at the Charlton and Serena with grateful eyes. When the couple mouthed thank you, the two smiled back and took it as their cue to play the next song. Just as they did in the wedding, they sat together in front of the piano to play Can't Help Falling in Love, though without the theatrics this time. The Duke offered his hand to the Duchess to lead her to the dance floor. The guests looked at the two. As they were already old, they did not do any complicated dance moves. They just hugged each other and swayed to the music. After the song, the orchestra started playing again, and some of the guests joined the couple on the dance floor. Serena and Charlton stood from the piano. Then, the son of Duke Legidi, Marquis Legidi, approached the two. Good evening, Lady Maxwell and Lord Daniel. I am Marquis Vincenzo Legidi, the son of Duke Legidi. Thank you for the wonderful gift to my parents. I will remember what you did for them this night for the rest of my life. If ever you need my help, just ask. Serena smiled and shook her head. You owe us no debt of gratitude. We are thankful enough to bring them happiness. Yes, Serena is correct. It is our honor to be here. The Marquis smiled wider, liking the two even better. Perhaps not now, but you can approach me anytime in the future. Thank you again. Please, enjoy the rest of the night. After the Marquis left, the ducal couple approached them. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I will never forget it. The Duchess enthusiastically said. In comparison to the lukewarm welcome earlier, this time she was profusely thanked them in earnest. Yes, my wife is right. Please, I wish to gift the two of you a simple gift for our gratitude. The maestro said. No, no need, please. It is us who needs to gift you as this is your occasion. Serena said with a smile as she shook her head. Then, as if a good idea entered her, she continued, but if you must insist, please do purchase a copy from Mr. Easton's recording company. We have struck a deal with him and we will have to record the song tomorrow at his office. Really? I believe everyone will purchase a copy and it will be sold out in under a minute. Please, I will need to approach Mr. Easton, I need to reserve a copy now. The maestro said quickly, as if in panic that he won't be able to buy a copy. The couple excused themselves to look for Mr. Easton. Charlton felt that he can finally breathe. Everyone wanted to speak to Serena, giving him no chance to talk to her alone. I see that you became an instant sensation. Charlton began. Serena laughed. Why? Are you jealous? Charlton shook his head. No, but about Mr. Easton's recording deal, are you sure about that? Serena grinned. I'm actually looking forward to it. Sorry for not asking your opinion about that earlier. Are you kidding me? I'm actually glad that you thought of me. You have no idea how pleased I am to know that I will be able to see our names side by side in history. He said as he chuckled. At the background, Charlton faintly heard the orchestra starting to play Tchaikovsky's Waltz of the Flowers. Feeling the atmosphere just right, he bowed in front of Serena. I'm not sure if they will be playing this at the ball, but for tonight, will you honor me with this dance? Serena thought that she has been immune to the heart-pounding, chest-constricting, palpitations Charlton makes her feel every time he looks at her that way. But he continues to surprise her. She gave him a coquettish smile as she placed her hand in his. "Of course, I will be delighted." Then, he led her to the dance floor. He positioned themselves between the other dancers. He bowed to her as she curtsied, then he placed his right hand on her back as she placed her left on his right shoulder. He used his left hand to take her right and hold it up. Then they started waltzing to the music. Never once leaving eye contact, never for a second losing focus of each other. TBC. Chapter 87. 87, Bathtub. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Warning. Mature content. Does it hurt? Serena asked, trying hard not to laugh. They decided to leave the celebration to return to her room after that one dance, as they still have a long day ahead of them tomorrow. Not at all. I'm glad to know that there is at least something that you're not perfect at. Makes you more human. Charlton replied, trying not to wince. She managed to step on his foot a couple of times with her heels, and although the leather of his shoes were hard, her heels were even sharper. Serena giggled. I'm not that bad actually, but it was my first time dancing after a long time. I promise not to step on your foot during the ball. You will save the waltz for me. Of course. I've seen the dance card and there will be 2 songs for waltz. The first one is Blue Danube and the other is Shostakovich's The Second Waltz. I would save the second waltz for you. Charlton gave her a small smile. All right. Anyway, wait here for a while. I'll prepare the bath first. Serena nodded. She felt a little tired and a nice warm bath will do. Charlton went inside the bathroom to draw the bath. He was still feeling bad about not being the one to escort Serena to the school ball. Although he got to accompany Serena to 2 events, the school's formal ball was different. Truthfully speaking, it was his first time asking a lady's hand to attend a ball. Before, it was them who kept asking him. He felt a little disappointed when she told him that she's going with Leonard. He did not ask why, and she did not elaborate, but they both knew the reason. It does not, however, mean that he was not feeling sour. He wanted to proclaim to the world that she was his, but they can only keep everything in secret. On the eve of the ball, she can only dance with him twice at the maximum to keep propriety. He also knew who will be the one to dance the waltz with her. It truly makes him feel like being suffocated. But he can do nothing about it. In the meantime, he can only stand at the side, bide his time, and wait. When the bath was filled with warm water mixed with bath oil having a relaxing scent, Charlton called Serena over. Serena removed her clothes, jewelries, and the pins holding her hair before entering the comfort room. As she entered, she saw Charlton already sitting within the depths of the water, smiling at her. He held out his hand and said, "Come and join me." Serena placed her hand in his as he helped over the edge of the tub. Then he guided her to sit between his legs, her back to his front. "Lay back and relax, Serena. It's been a long day," he said. Serena laid back against his chest, sinking into his embrace. His warmth more comfortable than the water surrounding them, and it lulled her to a calm, peaceful state. Charlton used his finger to draw random patterns along the skin of her upper arm, slowly moving down. Serena tried to focus on what the pattern could be, but before she can decipher them, her mind became fuzzy. Then he moved his touch to her collarbone, then to her shoulder before dragging it back to the water. "Feeling better?" he asked. She agreed. Serena was too relaxed to notice where his hand went, but a sharp pinch to her clit made her eyes snap open, her breath coming out in gasp as she tried to sit up. Her disoriented mind tried to catch up after being abruptly pulled out of its sluggish fog. "Relax, Serena," he instructed. Understanding what he was trying to do, Serena laid back to his chest again. He held her close and kissed her hair before reaching in front of him to grab the sponge and soap. He lathered her body meticulously, not touching the part where she wanted to be touched. He spent his time exploring as he wished. He washed every finger, every toe, and her every curve. After a while, his breath ghosted over her ear as he said in a low whisper, "Touch yourself for me, Serena." Seconds after, his mouth closed over her ear. He let go of the sponge as his hands slowly moved to cup her breasts, gently molding the soft flesh in his strong hands. With his warmth against her, Serena used her fingers to touch herself like he said. Tentatively at first, but she quickly lost herself as her desperation for release increased. It was nothing compared to what he can do to her, but it had to do. When she reached her peak, her head lolled to his chest, her eyes closed. Charlton's hands slipped away from her breast but not before using his fingers to pull her nipples and pinching the tips hard for a long moment. Then he reached for her hand, bringing it up to his mouth and kissing the back of it. Then, he gently guided her body forward. He moved to get the shampoo, poured some on his head and gently massaged her scalp. He opened the faucet with a shower head and rinsed her hair. After, he guided her to bend forward, slightly raising her body so that her behind was sticking out of the water. With his fingers he touched her pearly gates, he spread them open as he turned the shower head to spray water to her center. Serena felt some embarrassment with what he was doing. However, it also made her excited. She heard him turn off the faucet as he placed the shower head down. Then, he used both his hands to open her legs wider. She felt his breath first, then his lips. She moaned as he used his tongue to thrust inside her, moving it from side to side. He also sucked, like a man trying to sip her juices. When he felt satisfied with his ministrations, he made her sit back and turn to face him. Seeing her flushed face, he smiled first, then he leaned forward to give her a gentle kiss. It started out sweet, but quick as a flash, his kiss turned fiery. His right hand went down to her quivering vagina filled with want, and his mouth left hers, going to her sensitive peaks, torturing them with his mouth. Serena on her part felt her excitement building up too much. Before reaching orgasm the second time, she pushed him forward so that his hand was pulled out for her vagina. Charlton looked at her with confusion. "It's my turn now," she said as she made him sit at the edge of the tub. Serena moved forward to kiss his mouth first. Then she moved her way down his chest and stomach, until she reached her destination. Letting her lips graze his inner thighs, she grabbed the base of his shaft and pressed her tongue against him. Licking his shaft, she swirled her tongue around his head then wrapped her lips around his member moving her head back and forth against the twisting motion of her hand. Charlton did not want to finish just yet, so he stopped her movements. Then he went back inside the tub. The water was getting a little cooler, but their body was warm. Serena understood what he wanted to do, so she positioned herself on top of him. Their bodies still submerged in the water. She wrapped her arms around his neck and placed both her legs on either side of him. Then, she slowly lowered her body to his manhood. Charlton felt intense pleasure as she enveloped him. Inside was hot, slippery, and tight. Every time she raised herself, he felt like his penis was also being suctioned up. It became more intense when she planted the soles of her feet on the floor of the tub continuing with the motions of their bodies slamming together. Her moans got louder while water splashed all around. He could not hold on any much longer, so he asked, "Inside?" Serena shook her head and raised her body completely as she pulled him up to sit back at the edge. Then, she started sucking the head of his penis as her hand moved up and down. When she felt that he was getting close, she pressed her body against him, so his shaft was between her breasts and she brushed forward against him. Charlton released a guttural sound as his seed spread over her breasts. After a few seconds of catching his breath, not wanting to be the only one reaching intense climax, he pulled Serena out of the water. He quickly went to get the towels, patting the both of them dry. Serena looked at him perplexed. Seeing her cute, confused face, Charlton smirked at her and said, "Why are you giving me that face? Don't tell me that you thought that we're done for the night. Because for me, it has just begun. TBC. Chapter 88. 88, Columbia Recording Company. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Serena woke up with a start. Then she looked at her side where she saw Charlton still hugging her in deep sleep. She wondered what time it was as the sun was already out. She looked at the wall clock and saw that it was already 10 in the morning. After their session in the bathtub, Charlton was still energetic enough to continue everything in the bedroom. She was so tired that she let herself lose consciousness right after, not even having the energy to stand up, wash herself and brush her teeth. She cringed, remembering how he spilled himself on her stomach. Looking at her clean stomach, she released a breath of relief. Thankfully, he wiped his semen off of her. She had no idea what time he slept, but they must start moving. They still have to meet Mr. Easton after lunch, and they will have to travel for an hour to get there. Serena shook Charlton awake, not wanting to kiss or talk to him just yet, afraid for him to smell her stale breath. Charlton was still in deep slumber when he felt the shaking. Remembering where he was, he opened his eyes and saw Serena's smiling face. He too smiled back at her. He was about to speak when Serena covered his mouth. Then she pointed at the clock. Charlton's eyes widened like saucers. He did not expect to sleep that long. Last night, when Serena fell unconscious, it was only a little past midnight. He followed not long after cleaning the both of them. Charlton removed Serena's hand from his mouth and quickly pecked her lips. Then he went down the bed, and quickly wore his clothes. Serena giggled seeing him move in a frenzy. I don't know if I should be delighted or aggravated that you find me rushing about amusing. Charlton said as he smiled at her. It's a good thing. Anyway, you go back to your room. We need to get ready. I remember the ducal couple inviting us for brunch. I think we can still join them and leave for Mr. Easton's company by noon. All right. Then, I'll go now. Charlton said as he moved closer to her to peck her lips again. Serena nodded her head and smiled. See you in a while. Charlton stared at her one more time, appreciating and imprinting her image after she just woke up. Her hair was a little disheveled, but it glowed around her like a halo. The rays of sunlight coming in from the window illuminated her naked body. She was looking at him and smiling, and he thought that he has never seen anything or anyone more beautiful. He didn't know it was possible, but he fell more deeply in love with her at that moment. This was not their first time, and he hoped that every morning will be like this for the rest of their lives, minus the rushing part of course. Okay, see you. He said as he moved to the door, peeking first, and when he saw no one around, he dashed to his room. When Charlton knocked on her door to fetch her, it was 11 a.m. She was done preparing and packing her belongings when she opened the door. Sir Felix has already joined the maestro's family downstairs. Are you ready? Yes, I already have everything packed and the sheet music are also in my bag. Charlton nodded and went inside her room. Carry her luggage along with his. Then let's go. Serena nodded her head, then she kissed his lips. While descending the stairs, the servant saw Charlton carrying the bags and moved quickly to help him. He handed them over and instructed them to take it to his coachman, Jack. Then, one of the servants led them to the dining hall. Ah! The golden pair, I'm so glad that you both can join us. The maestro stood up from his seat and approached the two of them. The Duke's family, consisting of himself and his wife, his 5 children and their partners, some of their older grandchildren, and Sir Felix were seated on the long table good for 24 people. They haven't started their meal as it seemed like they were waiting for them. Charlton was first to react. Thank you, maestro. Apologies for the tardiness. No, it's all right. I understand that last night's festivities must have tired you both. Come and sit. The maestro said as he guided the both of them to seat at the second and third seat on the left from the head chair. The first seat was where Sir Felix was seated, while in front of him was the Duchess. After, the Duchess led a small prayer as grace for the meal. Then they started their early lunch. After everyone has eaten their fill, the maestro started introducing everyone to Charlton and Serena. They praised them both about the music last night, telling them that it was very beautiful and very touching, and they can't thank them enough for the service they have done for the older ducal couple. The discussion would have been longer, but Serena and Charlton had to leave for Edward Easton's recording studio. Thus, their conversation can only be cut short. The maestro's whole family went out of their palace to send them back to their carriages. The Duchess kissed both sides of Serena's and Charlton's cheek before saying her goodbyes. Felix smiled while looking back as he rode his carriage. He felt proud of his students. He would also be escorting them to the studio and to look over the contract before letting them sign it. After reading and Mr. Felix gave his approval, Serena and Charlton signed a recording contract with Columbia Recording Company which stipulates that they cannot give the music to any other recording studio in the future. Anyway, other than that, the contract was pretty lax as they were not even sure how everything will go. Serena can play it anytime and anywhere she liked. Also, instead of just royalties, she will be getting profit sharing. Edward on his end preferred profit sharing because he knew that that would be better on both ends, as he knew that initially, he will need to heavily rely on Serena and Charlton's noble status to market his product. After signing, Edward introduced the two to Mr. Emile Berliner. He said that he was his partner and that it was his invention that will make the mass production of their music possible. Then, he took them around his company which had about 20 employees. After, he proudly led them to the studio room so that they can start recording. Serena expected the studio room to be something like what she had seen in the movies, equipped with microphones and mic stands where the instrumentalists and vocalists perform, and a separate control room where sound engineers will operate with audio mixing consoles. However, she could only be disappointed. Inside, she only saw recording horns and a piano. There was only one assistant to be seen, and so there were only 6 of them there. Edward started explaining about the room and how everything would work. He said that the room was laid out with the purpose of recording the singer's voice with piano accompaniment. The 2 horns he pointed were prepared to be placed in front of the singer's mouth, and the reason why the upright piano that was set above and behind where the singers were to stand was to ensure that maximum amount of piano sounds will enter the horn. When singing, you have to move towards the horn for quieter passages and away for louder notes to avoid distortion. Emile and I will guide the 2 of you back and forth in this regard. Edward told Serena and Charlton. It was a good thing that Felix was there because Serena and Charlton won't be able to play the piano in this setup. Felix volunteered himself to play the piano and Serena gratefully handed him the sheet music. Before they start the actual process of recording, Edward explained that the recording process would only take under 4 minutes as that is the maximum capacity of their 12-inch disc for production. They also have to be careful with the process and ensure that they will get it right in one take as the recording tool doesn't allow editing. If they commit any mistake, they will have to dispose the disc used entirely, and that was very costly. Thus, he requested them to rehearse the music first and try things out. Serena and Charlton took their position while Emile and Edward stood beside each of them. Then Felix started playing on the piano. They started with Can't Help Falling in Love, so it was Charlton who sang first. Then when they reached the chorus where their voices hit a higher note, Emile and Edward holding their arms guided them to move a little backward, then forward again when their voices returned to normal. This process continued until they finished the song. So, you guys get it? Edward asked as he smiled. He really liked how things progressed easily. Serena nodded her head. Yes, it was a little strange at first, but I guess we can start recording now. Charlton also nodded his head. Thus, like that, they started to record their songs. TBC. Chapter 89. 89. Prelude to the Ball. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the recording session was over, Edward explained that their recording will be handed to the wax masters for electroplating. This will produce a negative metal copy which will be used to stamp a test pressing. If the musical results and sound quality were considered satisfactory, they will create further negatives and start mass-producing the discs. He estimated that the process will be finished by tomorrow, and if everything works out, he will be able to send them a player and a copy of the discs each on Wednesday. Then, they will also start marketing the product, and they can expect that when their school break begins on the 23rd, the product would have already circulated the market. That would make it possible for the nobility who are fetching their children from school, or even the students themselves, to purchase the product before returning to their homes. Serena liked the idea, so she can only nod enthusiastically and say that she would look forward to it. Before they left, Edward requested to take photos of her and Charlton. And if they allow, they will use these photos for marketing purposes. Not seeing any problem with that, Serena agreed. While Charlton, more interested to have his image beside Serena's for everyone to see, agreed against his better judgment. The coming week in school was filled with eagerness and anticipation. All the girls in Serena's class talked about nothing that was not remotely related to the ball. "Wow, I'm so excited, the ball is coming in 4 days. I can't wait to wear the dress you helped alter for me." Giselle told Serena, the excitement getting to her system. "Yes, me too, Serena. Thank you so much for helping me with the dress," Millie said. Serena couldn't help but giggle. Giselle and Millie's excitement were contagious. "I too am looking forward to the ball." Last time, Serena helped the girls alter their gowns. Giselle with the coral gown she bought from Marchesa, Via with the emerald gown prepared before coming to school, and Millie with the pink gown she also purchased, because she was afraid her pre-prepared midnight blue gown will be the same color as the tablecloths. The 3 girls also already have their respective dates. Via reluctantly accepted Kylo's invite after much of his pestering. Serena thought that Kylo was crushing on her friend but wondered how that will work. Via has a serious personality. She was also quite the feminist that was very much against Kylo's patriarchal thinking. Funnily enough, Kylo seemed to be aware of that and never voiced his sexist opinions whenever Via was around. Giselle was to be escorted by her brother George. Serena was introduced to George by Giselle before, but other than that, they only met once or twice in the passing, but never had the chance to have a conversation with him. Millie, on the other hand, will be going with a boy introduced by Giselle's brother. Serena believed his name was Paul. He was a handsome guy, a son of a marquis, and seemed quite nice. Serena observed that her friend was beginning to feel the first vestiges of love. Come Wednesday, like Edward estimated and said, Serena and Charlton received the phonograph with 2 discs containing the copy of their song each. The disc came with a cover wherein an image of Serena and Charlton was printed. Serena didn't expect that Charlton and her face will be at the cover. Anyway, it looked good despite its black and white color. The first image was used for the cover of Can't Help Falling in Love. It was them sitting in front of a grand piano with their hands on the piano keys. She recalled that Edward took them to a private room of his in the company to have this photo taken there. On top of their image was the title of the song, and below that were the words, sung by Charlton Daniel and Serena Maxwell, below that, composed by Serena Maxwell, and at the bottom was produced by Columbia Recording Company. The second image was the 2 of them standing side by side while Felix was sitting in front of the piano. They were all looking at the camera smiling. The print was the same except that the title was Through the Years. Serena excitedly took out the discs, and saw that in the middle, the same details without their image was printed. She placed 1 disc on the phonograph which came with an instruction kit. Then it started playing. Thankfully, their voices sounded clear, and although not up to par with the music recording of the future, she would say that it still exceeded her expectations. When Charlton received his copy, he traced his and Serena's images and names on the disc covers with his fingers. He smiled, happy that it featured them side by side. It felt that their bond was being immortalized through this. He wanted to go to Serena and listen to their songs together but knew that it was already a little late. Also, she must have received her copy today and must be doing the same thing as him. So, he read through the instructions of the phonograph and started playing. On Thursday, as the ball was tomorrow, the school frenzy was taken to a whole new level. Most of the teachers gave up on holding a lecture because the minds of the students were all taken by the ball. The excitement in the air became even more palpable. It was the first ball of the year, so it was understandable. Serena and Charlton only saw each other on passing. They only managed to smile at each other, as Serena was quickly dragged by her friends back to her room after classes ended. Whoa! What's this, Serena? I have never seen such a thing before. Millie said, seeing the phonograph. Wow, you and Charlton look really good on this photo. Won't Crown Prince Geoffrey, your intended, react negatively to this? Anyway, what is this all about? Your song title is printed here, does this contain the sheet music? Giselle asked. I don't know about his reaction, but I can pass this off as some professional work. Anyway, this is a phonograph. It is a record player, and this, well, it's a cover, contains the disc where us singing has been recorded. We had it done last Sunday at Columbia Recording Company. I believe that as we're talking right now, their company is working on circulating this product in the market. Serena explained. Let's hear it. Via suggested. Serena went to operate the phonograph to let them listen to the songs. The three had their eyes wide open and lips gaping. The same reaction she saw Beatrice sport yesterday when she heard this playing. After, the three could not stop from screaming and hugging Serena. Wah! I will buy this before going back home. You will have to promise to sign the discs I will be purchasing. Come to think of it, I will need to get your autograph now, its value would only increase more in the future. I can't believe it, I am friends with the upcoming star that will put all those opera singers and other musical personages to shame. You will become super popular. I'm so proud of you. Giselle excitedly screamed. Giselle's right, and she just stole all the words I wanted to say, but I'm so proud of you, and so proud to be your friend. I can't wait to tell everyone about you when I get home. I will definitely buy these and boast about you at home. Millie also exclaimed. Via, not being able to compete with their two loud friends, can only smile at Serena and say, I'm also so proud of you. I will spend all my savings if I have to just to buy these. She was from a military family and thus, more disciplined. Serena happily smiled at her friends, she too was feeling that everything happening was surreal. It was amazing. After the high they felt regarding the songs, they went back to discussing their preparations for the ball. They agreed that for tomorrow, they will come over Serena's room after lunch. The school announced that there will be no classes on that day to allow students more time to prepare for the ball. TBC. Chapter 90. 90. The Ball. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The girls arrived at Serena's room by 1 p.m. They brought their dresses with them too. First, they all lied on Serena's bed, placing some thinly sliced cucumber on their faces. Then, they painted each other's nails and toes, curled and braided each other's hair, they even plucked their eyebrows. During this time, make-up was frowned upon. However, Serena knew that it was just the excessiveness and there's a way around it. But, would it be okay? My mom told me that only prostitutes wear them. Via said when Serena said that she will apply make-up on them. Do me as you will, Serena, Giselle and Millie said. Serena laughed. Well, they won't know that we're wearing makeup exactly. I'll apply it on you guys and make it look as natural as possible. We'll just try to enhance your beauties. Actually, Serena just applied some powder on their faces to avoid it becoming oily as the night grew deeper, brushed some blush on their cheeks, and dabbed a little bit of rouge on their lips. And Viola. We're done. Serena said as she made them face the mirror. The girls looked at themselves on the mirror, the change was minuscule but it indeed made them look prettier. Wow, do you do this every day? That's why you always look fresh? Millie asked. Serena just smiled at her friend not answering. When the girls were done preparing, it was already 7 in the evening, just in time for their escorts to fetch them. So here goes nothing, Via said nervously. Although she was a little serious with everything, she was still a girl. She was flattered when Kylo asked her if she was willing to have him as her escort to the ball, and although she only reluctantly agreed, she was still looking forward to meeting him tonight. My chest is about to explode. Serena, thank you, you've done magic to my looks. I wonder if Paul would find me pretty. Millie said. If he doesn't, then he must be blind. Ugh, I'm so jealous of you two. I have made every effort to look this good, thank you Serena, by the way, only to be escorted by my brother. Ugh, hi. I just hope that he would take responsibility for my dance card and ensure that it is filled, and hopefully, those dance partners he finds for me are handsome. Serena giggled, well, you're not the only one. My brother is also escorting me. If my brother is even half as handsome as yours, then I won't be complaining. Giselle responded. Anyways, let's go and not keep the boys waiting. Millie, excited to see her Paul, advocated. In the lobby of their dormitory, there were a lot of gentlemen waiting for their partners. Serena and the girls agreed to see each other at the ball as they separated to look for their respective partners. Thankfully, Serena spotted Leonard quickly, for he was taller than most of the men there. Brother Leonard. Serena greeted as she approached him. She saw that he was wearing a black tailcoat, white shirt, white stock and white vest. He was also wearing white gloves, as it was the de rigueur of the era. Despite wearing the same colors like most of the gentlemen wore, her brother was still a cut above the rest. His suit fit him just right and emphasized his figure. Serena. He greeted back as he approached her halfway. He observed that she was wearing an off-the-shoulder bugle bead tulle gown in red with embroidered feathers. It was fitted at the bust and waist and was loose at the hips. He noted that the hem just went to the floor without a train. She was also wearing elbow-length gloves. Her hair had a top knot while the rest fell in loose circular curls neatly arranged, adorned with some jewels and feathers matching her gown. Serena saw him looking at her dress, so she turned in a full circle, letting the skirt flare. Although her skirt was not ballooning like some of the other girls, it can still do that. What do you think? She asked. Leonard smiled and nodded, giving her his approval. Although she was his sister, it still gave him some masculine pride to know that he is escorting easily to most beautiful girl in the empire. You look beautiful. Serena grinned at him. You're not half bad yourself. Leonard smiled back as he offered her his hand. Let's go. She placed her hand in his. All right. Serena and Leonard, being part of the organizing committee, were given access to the ball immediately. They did not fall in line like the other students and was just handed their dance cards. Serena's, as she saw the last time, was quite elaborate, while Leonard's dance card looked like something done just as an afterthought. Anyway, as her escort, Leonard also received hers for her, taking it as his duty to have it filled. At least with names that he deemed acceptable. Am I not supposed to be the one holding on to that? Serena said jokingly. It will help drive away some pests that would wish to have a dance with you. He replied as he started marking her dance card. I will hand this back to you before the dancing commences so you will know who you will be dancing with. Also, this will ensure propriety. Serena was surprised. She didn't know that her brother can be, well, like this. Anyway, she does not really mind him doing so. But she still has her one condition. Alright, but do save the last dance. I already have arrangements for the second waltz. Envy. Leonard knew who she was saving it for. He wanted to tell her no immediately, but he knew that Serena would not take that for an answer. She already let him control her dance card, and he worried that if he were not to agree with her condition, she might just do whatever she wanted. So, to appease her, he nodded his head. Upon entering the venue, the master of ceremonies announced their names. Mr. Leonard Maxwell, and Miss Serena Maxwell, TBC.